Not all superheroes wear capes. Some wear wellies. Wellies.
Hello, everyone, and you are all very, very welcome to another edition of the James Conway Experience. And we have what we can refer to now as a friend of the show with us. So it's his second occasion here. He was absolutely immense at the Homesteaders Hoolie. He had a tent full of people absolutely bricking themselves about the future to come. But I want to talk today because I think it's heading that direction. But Gareth, you have a pretty positive outlook on AI and stuff like this, where it's eventually going to lead. It was really interesting on the trip out speaking about it, and I will start on that. There's so many things we want to cover, but AI, you've been using it now for running X spaces and research, and you're doing really, really good work with it. So why is it so good? Why should we embrace it in somewhat in our lives, Gareth?
No, you shouldn't. It's not. Don't embrace it at all. It's inevitable on some levels, isn't it? I think to composite intelligence into smallest sound bites that we can all perceive, I think that's inevitable. I think that's what we're welcoming. But there's a threshold, and I think that maybe you have to go up a gear, because I've noticed some of the more technical AIs like Grok Heavy. They don't give the same answer as Grok 3.
Yeah.
And they don't give the same answer as Grok 4. But actually, Grok 4, it's very precise. It's very little conjecture. And I think that's what we're working out, how to get the best out of something.
Well, you're doing a remarkable job at the moment of using it as a tool.
Exactly.
How do we as a people keep using it as a tool but prevent it from being like an overriding thing on your life and all that? Because it's very easy to fall into them realms as well.
Yeah.
And if there's anyone watching this show who's contemplating an AI girlfriend, I want you to know we can't be friends. We will never ever be friends. Please stop watching the show. Head off into the moonlight with your robotic AI girlfriend. You have lost your mind. Yeah. That's what I'm going to say. Because this is being touted, and under 25s in a college in America, 8 out of 10 says they'd consider it.
Boy.
8 out of 10. So, yeah, that's
scary, isn't it?
Yeah, that frightens the shit out of me.
It's a big thing in Japan for years, as far as I know, isn't it?
Yeah, well, in Japan it was the whole, there was a whole industry based on pretending to be a woman and everything.
I suppose there's that too,
yeah. No, this is getting into fairly frightening realms fairly early on. Yeah, so it is.
But on the other side of it, it will make a lot of light of work. Something happened recently. I was doing some work, and it dawned on me that the judicial branch at the governmental level and the accounting department is completely at the mercy of this. Like Grok 4 Heavy is so strong that it literally could audit the government, the Irish government particularly, in no time at all. And then we'd know where things are going.
That seems to be where it is heading, though, doesn't it? It seems to be, yeah.
Thank goodness. It's about time. That's people power as well. So the other issue is this moving in now into the new currencies. Now we're on the blockchain. I don't know if anybody knows, but we are now officially on the blockchain.
Yes.
It's no longer the SWIFT system. That's gone. We're now in on, and
explain that then. So when did that happen? How has it happened?
Yeah. So there's been policy for the CBDCs, these central bank digital currencies, but they could never agree on a sort of a overarching plan. But of course, in the background, there was always an overarching plan. An XRP Ripple, that combination, seemed to be the new system, the new blockchain system. So they had it pretty much prepped up for the longest time, but it just took that last little step forward. And of course, Russia there yesterday turned around and said, we're in with the XRP Ripple shuffle. And I was like, uh-oh. So we know that's here now. So the AI has to really be the access tool. It's the high computing skills to be able to, because blockchain is open source, technically. You can go to every part of it and, you can look at every part of the blockchain. That you need some computing power like this. You were talking earlier about quantum. This is what it's all about. It's having this infinite supply of energy to sort of knowledge And it's going to be a race. It's going to be a race for all sorts of different reasons. But
Did you buy the XRP when I told you about it that time?
you know what? I am one of the few people with no wallet. I'm a no wallet guy.
I'm with you. No, I was. Me and that's a while. That's a long time ago. But out of all of them, I was kind of saying it was the one that was the most transferable.
And is it as transparent as, we'll say, Bitcoin? Like,
Well, there's none
are
of
the
them
ledgers all public and that kind
The
of thing?
public, but like the BTC is actually peer-to-peer offline. And I think this is what I'm sort of progressing deeper into. If I'm to get an account, I'm going to get the cold account, I'm going to get the wallets, and try and actively get involved with a peer-to-peer scenario. We have a crew online now who are doing, do you remember LETS? You might remember LETS in Sligo, Local Exchange Trading Scheme.
Yeah.
So just to give a bit of backstory, that went around the world to every continent and became a scheme. Now, just to give people an idea, LETS is Local Exchange Trading Scheme. And so it was, if you did an hour, you earned 1 shell. And this accumulated into an account, and you had a checkbook, and people used to pay and swap and trade. So this went around the world, and then it stopped in Sligo, and then came back about 10 years ago. So now the guys are working a blockchain version of a peer-to-peer BTC, which is your Bitcoin system, so that we can carry on the Let's program, but on the blockchain. Totally legitimate. So that's one of the projects that the lads are working on at the moment, which is great.
I don't know that people realise though with XRP or that like it was being tested. What was that batshit country in Central America?
Costa.
It could have been Costa as well, yeah, but no, it's the El Salvador. They've done a lot of testing on XRP there, and
Okay.
there was a lot of it going on in Africa as well. So it's been fairly well tested on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that's where it is. My thing with Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin will probably be a reserve to them. Do you know?
Yep.
But I still like something tangible. I'm old-fashioned in that regard.
Absolutely.
I think silver and gold will do well for themselves. It's just that
Some of the stuff we're doing with the law at the moment, there's guys teaching. And here's a little conspiracy for you guys. This is a great one.
good. That's what we like.
There's guys out there teaching about how to renounce your citizenship and gain sort of a free man status, and totally lawfully. I've done the work myself. I understand the process. But this new thought now is, why not literally hold your ground and be a free man, but then keep your status within society, but at your terms. And so the whole of this lay litigation phenomena that we've been getting success from is now changed, because now we're not looking to become the outsiders. We're actually coming to be the insiders from an active position. Mm-hmm. And so then when you can see this movement between what's going on with the payment systems from SWIFT into this blockchain, that's exactly what it's saying. You will become a digital twin. You'll have online this digital you. And so a lot of people will allow, like we do with the legal fiction now, will allow the state to dictate and legislate how we behave. And this is why we have birth certificates. This is where that comes from. So now as we birth this new, we've already birthed it, the whole of your history online is your digital twin.
Yeah.
And so as they assimilate that into this blockchain, you've got two choices. You can allow them to continue legislating and treating you as a minor, it's called, or as same when you regain the name, it's called in lay litigation, you relinquish the state. You say, I've come of the age of majority. I'm now of an age to look after my own affairs. And so what we're finding is that whole system that can be done in the old way, we're now applying into this new system. So instead of them owning our digital twin, we take full responsibility, and that's it. Takes a couple of we were talking before about lay litigation, using the affidavit process. Mm-hmm. The affidavit process is the legal standard, and it's a declaration. So in this regard, you're reclaiming the self. You're no longer you're saying, I'm of the age of majority, and I have access to my own destiny. Once you do that, it's a legal binding document. They can no longer impinge upon you. Mm-hmm. So it's an area that people have been exercising for a while, but now the AI is saying, oh yes, there's many cases where people have brought this to the high courts and all over the world. So this, again, is another beauty of the AI, that we can take legal cited cases. This is always the thing in a court. Every judge wants to see you cite other cases of similar quality. And so now we can. And we've got the AI who goes off and goes, oh yeah, I found a half dozen over here for you. So there's a whole new dynamic change in legal system, but also, of course, in accounting, because AI can count a lot better than anybody human.
So it's a massive thing for setting precedent. The precedents have been set.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Where do you see, I alluded to it a little bit earlier on as the AI girlfriend thing, all of this, but we're very, very close to people who, what I describe as terminally online. They're just going to make the jump. I think they're giving up entirely on physical reality, and they have said, listen, I can create an avatar and live a far more pleasant lifestyle online than what is going on. Like, I've seen a young fella lately, and I thought, my God, what a statement, because it was very hard to disagree with. He was in a room full of people, and he was scrolling on his phone, and an adult went over to kind of tell him, there's a room full of people. He replied, these are far more interesting than any E. And I thought, wow, there's a statement. And he was probably telling the truth, It's like, why would I put this down? You're not that interesting. And yeah, I think we've crossed that Rubicon, have we?
I think so. But what does it say about what we find important? You see, that kid is also probably earning a fortune online just by nipping over to some site and doing some twiddling of his thumbs, and it builds his account. So he doesn't actually need the people around him.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't need them for money to buy or sell. He doesn't need them for emotional support, because these other people online are there because they want to empathize with the same. And so he's got both those commodities online, and it's all in a screen. And I mean, arguably, we could all say we fell for it to a little bit of a different degree, because it's very elusive, isn't it? It's very anonymous.
Yeah.
And so there's a nice side to it where you can just be you, whereas everybody else knows you. So there's a couple of qualities there that...
But me and you have been fortunate enough to have lived in a time before it.
Exactly.
A lot of these kids haven't.
No.
And you see, I think that's where the danger zone comes in, is like, you remember when it didn't exist.
Yeah.
They don't.
No.
Like, how do you square that circle, as the man said?
But it was told the other day, I mean, these young kids, they've never actually sort of gone off on a Sunday afternoon and drank loads of cider and fallen over drunk. Do you know, like, they haven't done that wild sort of, it's also controlled. It's also in the screen. And all that sort of stuff, getting drunk and falling over, happens on a screen, and they laugh at. So there's no more adventure as well. That the adventure's gone when you can watch other people make misadventure. Do you know? Because part of adventure is misadventure, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
We make mistakes and learn. And I think that's another one that the next generation are completely missing, the adventure. And I find that really perturbing for them.
But there's an old statement about that, wasn't there? That a wise man learns from his mistakes. A fool learns from his mistakes. A wise man learns from the fools, or that, isn't there? That you're an observation now of it.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Then I was always the fool.
I'm the eternal fool. So,
yeah, I'm sorry.
But where does this leave us, though, as a society? Because here's the kicker for it. At the moment, on an economic standpoint, a lot of the country are in a really poor position. They have no assets of any description. They're nearly entirely dependent on the state. Me and you would both be of the opinion that there's going to be an unwinding that's going to be very, very disturbing for people. But there's a lot of people who have just moved on, and they have said, well, I can work for such a company that has nothing to do with this country at all, from home, and they're formulating a different kind of class for themselves entirely.
I know. And then all these new folk coming in to take up the dirty jobs, as they say.
Yes.
So it's
but will there be dirty jobs for them to take up? Will there be as many? There won't be as many, anyways.
There's another conflict waiting to happen, actually, isn't it? You bring a lot of lower paid wages, let's say, people to do those jobs, and then the AI steps in with all its robotics and takes all of the jobs. And I think people need to understand what we're at the zenith of now. we're just at the last point where we can't see it. We can just see the bright glimpse of it, and it's going to be very blinding, and everybody's going to be really interested in what goes on with the AI and the robotics, but nobody will have a job after. Nobody. Like everybody in the accounting world is going to be gone.
Do you think universal basic income is a thing?
It's obvious. It has to happen.
It has to happen.
There's no two ways about it.
I think so too.
And so this is again where but to take that, you will have to put yourself on the blockchain. You will become commoditized. Now, I don't know if you know this term.
Again.
Well, but in ways now that's because you'll be making a conscious choice to join that system. Whereas the other system, you were birthed into it and your soul was placed into that at birth by your parents. Now you can relinquish that, but if you come into this world and you say, well, I've got nothing else, I have to have that, then that's the big difference.
Yeah.
That's the system.
And it's your step. Yeah.
Yeah.
What if it's worse?
It is worse.
But it has to
And we'll
be
get to that
and more
later.
controlled, you know.
We'll get to that later because that's
yeah.
just terrifying. The reality of what we've found under the microscope and in science papers is beyond all of the worst horror movies that you can ever imagine. And it's very obvious. It's a continuation of all the stuff I talk about on the dark stuff. You know, the idea that we were this kind of nice hippie tree huggers in the past. And of course, I've conflicted that for a long time and gone, no, I have a feeling we have a real violent history. You know, you only have to study history and through religion, and you realize we created religion to move away from something. So if those same cruel systems are in place, I think we've just stumbled across the next big soul mining, no less. Unfortunately.
Well, we'll hold that for the Patreon, Gareth, because
we'll hold that for the Patreon.
I'm telling you,
unbelievable.
YouTube really doesn't like these sort of conversations.
So I know about some rainbows and some unicorns. Do you know?
Oh, good. Well, that's
that
good.
will get the ratings.
Yeah, that's good. That's right back to YouTube again. Rainbows and unicorns. Yeah, that'll do. Yeah.
Do you know what I'd love to do is slip back to the little bit of law, just for a split second, because I think I want to give some hope. Because when this system comes in, there is a system in place. There's actually an application form to be able to create independence and to take full autonomy of the digital twin that's been introduced. So just I'll leave it to that because like I said, it's a big topic, but I just want people to know that that's the reality.
So let me hit you with this then, right? Full autonomy of the digital twin. By essence, we're moving to the realms now where we're trying to seek freedom for our digital twin. Have we given up on it entirely in the physical? Because like I've taken steps similar to yourself where you're, we'll say, somewhat sovereign or that. But in reality, from what I'm noticing is, it's very difficult to be sovereign in much regard to anything anymore, because when you have to have official documentation to do much of anything, it does leave you in a very, very strange position. Like at one time, and you'd be aware of this, there was ways and means of getting round things that you didn't, for insurance and stuff like that. There was a way of creating another entity and taking the insurance that way and that, but not now.
No, it's all strict, isn't it?
It's just...
And it'll be stricter on the blockchain.
Yes, and there's another, how do I say it, and a thing that really bothers me is the amount of physical locations where you can go to as yourself. Now, when you think about it logically, banking, postal, all of these services, if you're using your online twin, well, what you've already admitted to is that you've created another entity entirely to do this business on your behalf or that. Yeah, I'm very worried about it. I'm very worried about it. I think we're going into an age that people sleepwalk their way into it, and by God, you ain't walking your way out of this.
No.
Because, like, if anyone had told me when I was 12 or 13 and sat me down properly when I was getting a phone for the first time and explained, well, by the way, every day you use that, you are building up basically an autobiography of how you operate, where you operate, who you operate with, and you're going to willingly give this information over. So, like, a thing now where you go to a restaurant and you get a notification that pops up, did you enjoy your meal? And you're just like, holy shit. So this thing is tracking me, and there's obviously somebody getting paid for me to review what my experience was like. You know, we're not that far already from the economy of everything. You've already monetized people's location and their experiences. So the next thing you're going to presumably have is it's going to be inducted into your clothes and stuff like that, where, you know, you're feeling a little bit cold. Oh, we can turn on the heater there if you like. You know, it's a little battery pack. And yeah, nah, this is
Micromanagement.
to the greatest degree ever, do you know?
Yeah.
But however, it does give you this wonderful thing where now something I like to do is just strip off everything and lie down on the grass and feel the actual world, and you're just like, wow, yeah, this is good. When you separate entirely from modernity.
Yeah.
Does it frighten you, Gareth?
I think because of my age, it's sort of a bit like, well, you know, the next generation are the ones that's going to really suffer because they don't know. So it doesn't make. I'm not afraid. No, I'm more afraid that they'll not know the difference.
Yeah.
You know, I can go and get my feet wet and, you know, lie down in the grass. The next generation don't even know to. They don't even realize that that's kind of important enough as well. To the point where the delusion is that we're some kind of cyborg as we are. We're already cyborg, and a lot of the young generation kind of want that. It goes back again to the whole human condition thing. You know, because we walk naked in the garden, we're forced to toil the earth. You know, the fact that we have to produce clothing so we're not naked, you know, and we toil the earth is a big issue. It's not natural. So you can't really blame the next generation who are going, well, if I can get away with doing as an animal might do, which is just relax and not toil, then they're gonna. And so it's fulfilling a kind of in a desire by every being to, you know, be able to live a nice, relaxed life. And we don't, do we? I mean, we all know how much effort we have to put into life and how unnatural that is. So I think it's forcing that into the public realm where people are making the decision to say, no, I don't want to work. I don't want to.
I'll just clarify that though for the listeners too. When you say toil the earth, in essence, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're talking about how a sheep or a cow is at one with their environment. They're not going to a job to provide it. You know, they eat the grass, they move around. You know, most animals in the world from their environment can live off it and create, whereas we have to go to all this trouble of creating systems to do it.
And that's it. And that's the toil in the earth that the Bible teaches of. And of course, it's simply because we haven't got that downy. We walk naked. So it's an unusual twist that the Bible shows us there, but it's very obvious when you unravel that one, that this is what we're suffering. This is the human condition. Yeah, definitely. And of course, that's what I'm saying about this future with the AI. It's fulfilling this common tongue as well. You know, we lost the common tongue in the Bible. Well, arguably, animals have, again, not only are able to just live in nature, but they've a nature of them that is communicating. It's constantly surveying its environment. They are communicating at a mental level, whether it's by some motion releases, some psychic abilities, a bit of everything, a bit of vibrational energy. Here's an interesting concept, is that actually each hair of fur is in fact part of an antenna network. So when you feel a vibration on the wind, it's actually your fur that would feel it first as a creature. So telepathy and this fur is a big issue in the human condition. So when we're looking at this age, we can see that they're fulfilling those dynamics. You know, the idea of a common tongue, like the AI, and of course Neuralink, bringing it the next level.
Are we heading very, very quickly to a situation where I can't help but I look at the Apple thing, right? And you look at the graphic design of it years ago, which was the shape of the person in silhouette, and there's that little machine, bright white. That's the important aspect of that photo. Have they gone to a situation where at one time technology was fully outside of your body? So you went to the office and the computer was kept in the office under lock and key at night, and at night you went away from the computer. What they done then was they introduced the computer into the home. Now it's in the home. Then it was on your pocket. Then you were wearing it.
Yep.
And as I says, it's not a big step to go from wearing it to having it as a little chip or an interface.
You don't even need that anymore.
Yeah.
That's the problem. They don't need any of that tech now anymore. They have assigned frequencies for every cell in the body. And so they've got area body networks, it's called. And they've had this a long time. This isn't new technology. So what's there keeping us sort of distracted with RFID chips and mobile phones? And there's things like Li-Fi, which is affecting us already through the screens and through the streetlights. This Li-Fi is a very real technology they use in the medical institutes all the time. And so they've been rolling out this sort of medical industrial complex technology with things like Fitbit and that technology. And of course, we've seen RFK say the other day, oh, well, we want everybody with those Fitbits on in the future to be able to monitor everybody's health. And so that's a distraction, because they actually have the ability to sense every part of the body, and they have done since the 50s and 60s. Now, it was less complex then as to where it is now. When you go and study people like Sabrina Wallace, who'd be pretty formidable, and Sophia Smallstorm, she's pretty formidable. They show how the area, what they've actually learned to do is take each cell in the body as individual cells, and sort of, how would you put it? Look at the way the body system works in its vibratory level. So each organ vibrates differently. They have the technology now to scan the whole body and know exactly what's going on at any one time. And it sort of leads into this other technology that we'll talk about later. So this is how they're siding it into society through health, and they're sort of making it like it's for us, but actually it's a complete control system at a molecular level to the degrees that's just bizarre. It's bizarre.
Have we crossed the Rubicon where you can't even avoid it if you try to?
There's a lot of talk like this. Now, anybody who follows me on X, you'll find us at OMM Foundation. Do come and check us out. What we've done is we have looked towards different methods of detoxing. So we've got a couple of microscope laboratories on board. And so we'll hit the crux of it. It appears, and this, if anything's going to get us in trouble, it's what I'm about to tell you right now. They appear to be manipulating protein on every level when it comes to the body. And there's several angles. It's not just 2 or 3 angles. There's about 5 or 6 different angles where protein is being manipulated and used to feed the genetic code in particular patterns in the chromosome structure so that the result is what they want. So the way protein interacts with it, depending on what protein it is how then the body forms. So this is the basis of basically genetically engineering people. And so what they've found is now they're spraying the food. There's this new technology called RNA, and they're spraying the food with RNA, saying it's for preserving food.
Good old Billy's company.
Another one of his
the man Billy
Frankenstein monsters. And this one is essentially, again, it's that same level. What they're trying to do is drench the body with RNA technologies, and they have done it. Is it easy to detox from? Possibly, actually. Probably easier than we realize. And that's the one thing I think we're starting to look at more. So whilst we're on the open time, reverse osmosis. It seems as if now, from all the research that these guys are doing, they're saying it's the base of everybody's consuming patterns. You need to alter to reverse osmosis.
That is, can I put you to my experience? You know, the detoxes we were talking about and all of that. I couldn't help but be more comfortable with what I had. You had no drive. Do you know how you'd often see a new van and you'd be like, oh, Jesus, the van and all this? I think this is one of the reasons they're so dead set against detoxing, is because if you do a good detox or that, you have no consumer drive at all.
That's it.
And it's not like, forgive me for saying it though, but weed has one of those effects on some people that it makes you comfortable with a situation where you mightn't totally be comfortable. But the detox things makes it really, you're just like, no, I'm at ease with my environment here. And
yeah, it's like fasting does the same, doesn't it? After a couple of days of fasting, on the 3rd day, you literally go, phew. And you're like, okay, I've landed. and that you realise the rest of the time you're kind of on the edge doing something. And it's you're looking to consume something, a bit of water, a bit of earth, a bit of air, a bit of fire. And that's, I know you know that the work I do is around those four, because I think that when you quieten those four, when they are silenced in the mind, that actually what's left is you and that connectivity we're looking for with Neuralink. That's where telepathy is. So that's why I drop it in at that point, because I truly believe this is one of the gifts. And it's just that fasting, and as you say, you just need to let that body system down for a minute and quieten that desire up. And when it goes to sleep, when it quietens, it's a special place.
It is a special place, but is this why that entire lifestyle has been depicted as a bit silly and airy-fairy? It's because in reality, on a consumption standpoint, you have no great desire to consume. You're quite comfortable with your situation,
and you know, there's another dynamic we can add to that, and I've been promoting this for the last few months, is that get a little window box or a couple of little window boxes wherever you are, and have a little bit of herb tea every day from your own window box, and a little bit of salad. And so, you know, you've probably heard me talk a lot about ivermectin, and of course we know that ivermectin comes from the soil. It's the most prevalent bacteria in the soil. But when you consume make a nice herb tea, a mint tea, whatever, don't boil your water, don't scald the herbs, just do it nice and hot. It encourages those probacteria. So every day, if you first thing in the day or whenever, you're taking a little bit of herb tea all day, you're raising up that antiparasitic in your body. And so it's a little bit like, you know, we don't have to make big movements. We can make these little movements to bring about big changes. And so I think that hydration is a really big issue for everybody. And I think that when we've got low hydration, we have low transposition of minerals and elements that the body wants out. You know, we need that hydration, we need that sense of, and so all of these things is what's going to fight this toxicity. To be able to keep that body system in that healthy tip top, we you know, this is how we're going to be able to do it, through these detoxes and fasts. And I think we'll find the peace of mind from it as well.
Well, I know what it's introduced into my life is a great degree of calmness that I didn't have before, and you don't have the whole, how would you say it, emotional pendulum going on where you're rocketing from one side to another. It's just, no, you're...
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And desire is one, I realize, is one of the biggest obstacles to being sort of transcendental or spiritual, whatever you want to call that. I think desire is now, I realize, what is the obstacle. And it's not just in me, it's generally the human condition is desire. And people say, well, that's ridiculous because we need to do and consume, and we need to. But actually, if you break it down a little and look at what, say, a wolf or maybe an ape or a horse eats, it's kind of always striving. You know, even in the summer, it's plenty, but, you know, 2/3 of the year, there's this striving that humans don't do. And I think that hunger strive is part of a sort of it's a part of a humility, it's part of a humbling, it's part of there's a few levels of it. Bring down certain sugar levels in the body, certain arrogances. Do you know the relationship between all those things, and how sitting down in your bum cold one day and just having to sit with it for a day until the sun comes out, it's a powerful dynamic. It's life changing, it's life encouraging, because when the sun does come back, you're going to make sure, you know, you're going to keep going. And so, but humans aren't challenged like this anymore. In a lot of ways, and I think this is why we need to challenge ourselves.
Why is there such drive at the moment to tell everyone that they're not resilient to anything? So this is one of the things I've noticed. You know, a simple thing like the heating. If the heating was out years ago, people would have said, well, put a jumper on.
Coat on.
You know, stick on your coat there, and sure, the plumber will be round in a while, and sure, he'll probably fix it. And if the plumber rang up and says, I won't be there till next Tuesday, there wasn't this collective, oh, but we'll all die, you know. And then that goes as well to, you know, the electricity is out. At one time, this wasn't a big deal. No. Whereas now, you know, and I seen it myself as well. This last storm, it really showed me there was a lot of people not ready for this. And
no, none of us.
Because one of the things we do, and it's a funny thing, you know, in the prepping, you prep and you get ready for all of these things. But one of the things I've really noticed is the more I've prepped, the more I've realised, I don't really need that. Do you know? And it's just this kind of thing of resilience where you go, right, fair enough, I have the generator and all that ready, but in reality, I don't really need electric.
And
Do you know,
just
you
the
go
fact
to
that
different
you've-
stages.
Yeah, the fact that you've prepared for it means that it's already gone through your head. So when it happens, there's no big shock.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you're like, oh yeah, well, you know,
It's a
so
fine feeling, though, isn't it? Having that little bit of prep,
But
having that stack of turf and timber, having that bit of food, it's a fine feeling.
oh, it's a lovely feeling, but that's on the individual basis. I suppose the question I have for you, Gareth, is have you noticed it that on a societal level, let it be the Irish government or the European Parliament or that, they really seem to be building this worry in people that they're not resilient. And I think that's really bad because the one thing we know about humanity is resilient and it's adaptable. And do you know, Christ above, if you look at stories of even Stockholm syndrome, do you know, where you're in such a terrible situation that you go mentally, well, do you know something? If I fall in love with this fella that's doing all this, it'll actually be easier for me to deal with.
Kind
Do
of
you
what
know?
this is, isn't it? And it's sort of like a governmental level, isn't it? We just have to keep loving them.
Yeah.
Because if the electric goes off again,
Well, I've described what we're going through in a collective as Stockholm syndrome. And I don't think I'm fair off the mark
I
because
think so.
it exhibits all of the.
and that's it's a bigger problem as well, because like there's a blue list and a red list, and those on the red list, like us, the blue list won't mind if we disappear. There'll be like it's been reputed in history. This is how it works. The Bolsheviks had something similar. They didn't take everybody all at once. They took out the ones they wanted, and everybody else just turned the blind eye. So it's a very serious time as we change so distinctly right now. And this is what I think I've decided, that maybe we need to actually join this movement under our own terms, because if we go in a resistance mode, that's when we'll get on the red list.
Is there an essence, though, and I've been thinking about it a lot lately, or that they've made an allowance for those who know, and they just
No,
say,
they're not bothered about people who are waking up and doing what we're doing with the legal papers and getting it so that you reclaim the name and you reclaim your birth certificate. See, the little things that they don't tell you. Did you know that there's a securities for you? When you were
the
born,
trust fund.
Of course there was.
Yeah.
And of course, once you come, if you put them on notice that you've come of the age of majority, and that you're reclaiming the name, and that you're looking for the securities, you're looking for your bond, they have no obstacle. There's an actual form. There's an actual form for this. I know. So this is why I'm being very, very cagey, because this is a serious issue, guys. Because it's two things. You could go the whole way and step out of society and then become like an outlaw. You'll have plenty of money. You'll have your securities. But I'm suggesting that we do something else. We look towards joining the system, being a predominant in the system rather than being an outliner. You're either an outlier if you get controlled by a system like this, or if you run away from a system like this. But the actual, and this is the same in law. Same in law. If you go into a law court and you're over enthusiastic, your case will not be seen. If you go in and you have no real evidence and you're a bit limp, you won't be seen. But if you go and systematically engage, you will get as long as you know what you want, you will get what you want. Now, I'm working with 2 or 3 guys who think the same as me, and it's brilliant online, because these guys have done it the same as me. They've got the paperwork in place. And so this is the point what I'm trying to make, is we have to do it through what's called honourable engagement. And even if we don't use the credit card or the legal digital twin, having it at this stage is better than refusing it, because you'll be given one anyway. So it's better to get your digital twin and say, that's my digital twin. I do as I wish. And just to part the point, it's very much about the data that's within your digital twin. You see, at the moment, they own it.
Yeah.
As of the 14th of July, they own it until you reclaim that.
Is this common to a pitch where, let's go back to Victorian England, and you had an empire all across the world, But within London, you had a certain group of people who knew how things operated. And that's how they cut their living. They cut their living simply by on an advisory and on a consultation basis saying, this is how this works, this is how this works. That'll be £1,000. Thanks very much.
Or like Epstein, 50 million he charged you. You know that?
Yeah. Is it coming back to that? Where you're at the moment, if you have, if you can figure it out and you can see where it's going, you can...
The Bitcoin phenomena, the Bitcoin pyramid scheme, which is potential, those whales, they know how to work that system. So yeah, they're your new sort of aristocrat class, and there are whales. We have a couple in our groups on it's bizarre. I was in one night in a space with 7 of them. I think there was a billion sat there on the panel between them. Powerful amount of money.
It is, but I'm going to say something to you, Gareth, and I think it's on the precipice of it now, as well as the subject of patronage. Patronage is making its way back.
How do you mean?
Well, there's these there where the money is concentrated. They're the Medicis of our age. And all of a sudden, if you're doing anything that they find somewhat interesting, they're willing to... they're willing to go, I don't mind sponsoring that because at least it's somewhere interesting. Let's get to the WEF, because I've been looking at this for a while. I've spotted a similarity, and it only dawned on me by looking at the geography, locations of it, or that. Remember Calvinism? Whatever it is about the WEF, all of their bases seem to be where Calvinists were really, really strong.
Calvinists?
Yeah, so
what was their principle?
6-hour ceremony, it's all predestination, doesn't matter what you do, you're either going into heaven if he's decided or not, and they seem to have... The WEF seems to be following that Calvinistic down to a...
I must go and have a look at these Calvinists.
Yeah, it's worth looking at.
I know Chaldean is a very big thing when you look at who the Chaldeans were. They were real root... culture, but Calvin's right. I'm gonna have to, in that area there's a Sardinian royal family, and they are the royal family of all the royal families, and nobody talks about them, but they own from Geneva basically, right through to where in Austria is it where they do all the banking. Bern, and there's another place there.
Bern in Switzerland, yeah.
Sorry, Bern in Switzerland. Geneva's in Austria, isn't it?
I thought Geneva was in Switzerland.
What's the one in
it's not Genoa you're on about.
Genoa is in Italy.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's a triangle there between the sort of that area, and they basically have all the big money.
By any chance, had they a unicorn on their crest?
They've the serpent.
They've
the serpent eating the child one. The Medici family. That's that one. I know.
Fuck.
And so but anyway, that's the big money, and even they've got into the BTC and in a big way. So it's interesting that the biggest money on the planet have got into the BTC, the Bitcoin, peer-to-peer Bitcoin.
Well, you see, to me, a lot of people has asked my opinion on the crypto, that I think if you want to lose money in a very quick way, if you go into that and you don't have a clue what you're doing, you will lose money very, very quickly. But there is an essence of it where I think XRP, couple ones like that are interesting. There's no doubt in my mind. But it's like anything. Is the back end there? Like, I'm going to be talking in a few weeks to a fellow about quantum computing. It's his sector. He maintains that the technological grid is not there to do a global digital currency. And I've said to him, is there not enough of a grid for a somewhat elite to use it? And he goes, yeah, I didn't think of it that way. There probably is.
Like a mainframe and then yeah.
So I don't think if you're in impoverished Africa or impoverished South America, I don't think these issues is going to bother you too much, because you ain't in the in-group.
Do you think they'll integrate it with the currency?
Hard to tell. Very hard to tell.
Yeah.
My predominant worry about it is I think there's a lot of people about to introduce themselves to the most extensive form of slavery that was ever ever concocted, and they're doing it willingly.
Oh yeah.
Do you know?
No. No. When everything is tokenized, when everything has a value, there's three statuses. There's the first status is as an asset. The second status is as productive, and then the third status is reclaimable. And there really is nothing else in that system. So once we are part of the blockchain, unless we are entirely in control of our own, performance, if we're being performed and issued in ways to perform, that method of everything being on a blockchain, I mean, there's no real blockage. I mean, let's have a look at, say, the organ harvesting issue right now at the end of your life. If you're on the blockchain, then now, unless you said no, your organs will be harvested. And so is that what that's preparing for? Because basically they have value. And so this is, again, it leans into this idea that you're actually worth more once you've gone past, say, 45, 50. You've not got the performance value, you go up for reclamation. I mean, it's that cold, guys.
Well, you see, this is the danger of it, is if you put an economic status on a life, so you have your childhood period and your teenage years and then your early 20s, but then you enter a period called peak consumerism. Peak consumerism happens when you're 26 or 27, and then you meet the mate and you want to build the house and you want the car and you want to go on the holidays. And once that period is over, you enter another period, which is your wind down period, to when the system has to start paying for you and providing for you. And now you're economically burdensome.
So you've gone from productive to reclaimable.
Yes.
Somewhere in that. And I think a computer goes click, doesn't it? It doesn't go, sliding scale.
Yeah.
Depending on how good a day they've had. It's click.
See, this is what I'd say to a lot of people who are, retiring or that. I said, I wouldn't. I'd be still somewhat economically viable. I reckon there's, I won't say overseers, but similar kind of thinking, which, the longer you can extend your economic viability, the better you are.
Yeah. And it's funny you should say that, because I've always said that my economy is in the garden.
Yeah.
And I kind of judge my life with how long I can actually keep performing in a garden.
Yeah.
I don't eat as much. And I think as you get older, really, the little bit you do get from a garden is probably fine. A little bit of trade for, some meat here and there. But so even if you got very, very old, if you can still get yourself out into that garden and cut a stick and make a bit of food, I think this is what sort of part of that drive, isn't it, inside? This is all we're really meant to do. So if we can still perform that one thing, that's the best investment you can make. Because I don't see a nursing home, or I don't see a family being able to perform what that could do in contentment. I'd be bored in a place like that. I'd die just of boredom. They'd have to fill me full of Valium just to keep me there. Yeah, and I'm not going to do that. So I just look at it like that. I'd rather fall over in the compost heap and in the autumn the trees blow over me. The leaves blow over me.
Is that common for a lot of people now, though? Because I know yourself and Darren mentioned it earlier on about the universal basic income or that, but are we looking at this from a very, very technical standpoint where none of us has taken a step back and said, no, Western society has overextended itself. Western society has now introduced a rake of people into it who there will be no work for, who will simply take everything.
Yeah. Working conflict.
And this is like, I can't help but think that's around the corner.
It wasn't until earlier when we mentioned it, and I thought to myself, yeah, it's so true, isn't it? They brought all these people in to do these, let's say, menial tasks or whatever they brought people in to do. It's not just created that two-tier society, which I remember when it happened with the Polish came in, it kind of did, but then the Polish simply integrated.
Yes.
But this next level of it with, say, Muslims, it's slightly harder to sort of... I think there's a genuine sort of distrust towards Islam, not for any bad reason, but just because they're not Christian. Let's just say, not for any bad reason, but just, and I think, as you say, that's a brewing battle. If all of a sudden the robotics and AI take over all the work, what's these two communities going to do? They're going to look at each other as in conflict. So it's it's not until earlier I realized just what a brewing feudalism and civil war that could be just by the AO takeover, the robotic takeover.
If we go back to the feudalism as a system, you had your lords, and then you had the sheriff going round on their behalf to collect the rent and all that. And the sheriff didn't particularly care if all the families were at war with each other, as long as the rent was paid.
That's it.
And now you've entered a period of techno-feudalism. So you have Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, all of these fellas who own the cloud capital. They own the fields.
Yeah.
You're just simply working the fields for them.
Yeah.
That's all. Do they care? Do they fundamentally care if you're all at war with each other as long as their platform is being used? I don't think they do.
Not at all. Better to keep us fighting than us looking at them.
Yeah.
That's the problem, isn't it? And they know that well, was it? And that's some famous movie where he said, don't just keep them fighting. If they ever work out how many of them there is and how few of us there is, we're finished. And it's like that today. But we're no less close than we were 100 years ago in uprising. This time it's going to be with the truth. Like the AI can poke holes in these deceptions. Because money is their language. These abusive people are using money at a fundamental level. Auditing is the key. We know taxation is a burden and a yoke upon the nations. That's what's called extraordinary payment, and it's expected of us. And these extraordinary payments are going to things that we don't no longer agree with. Let's say what's going on in the Middle East right now. We know that Europeans funding taxation, which the Irish are performing, is going out to perform in Israel on behalf of Israel, and nobody really likes that. We know that the munitions companies, and around this country are making an absolute mint out of explosives and sending them out to these places, and then they're putting the byproducts on the land and poisoning the soil. That little complex is coming to a head as well, because people are realizing the byproduct of both of those, war and all those toxins going out onto the farmers' lands. This is coming to a head, and the AI has not been able to lie over it. The data, the stats, all the everybody's different, studies is coming together, and it's saying out without a shadow of a doubt that because you have to remember the knock-on ramifications of health that come from a poisoned soil. And it's something I'd like to cover, because I'm going back to the same topic of toxoplasmosis, because that bacteria, ivermectin, this farming practice that they're using the salts with from the arms industry, is destroying the soil in a way the plant cannot no longer go down and pull up micronutrients. Things like copper, magnesium, which would be really common in an organic soil, because the roots have soft enough soil to go down and get to the subsoil and pull them up. You see, now they're putting out these chemicals. It's only the top 4 to 6 inches of soil being used, and the plant can't go down past that. It's too hard. And so what's happening is we're seeing the byproduct of that is it's not even just about things like parasites. A lack of copper has the body build up iron as for transposition, and if there's not enough correct copper in the body, then iron is kept and it starts to accumulate, and you get this thing called black blood. And a lot of people in the northwest around this area here have black blood, and it's a high buildup of iron in the blood. And it's because the blood cannot discharge because of a lack of copper. And again, it goes back to the fact that the food that our animals and that we would eat would always naturally have this subsoil copper, this subsoil magnesium in our diet. For the last 100 years, that's died off with these mineral salts. And so there's this long-term sort of health issue that comes from a practice that in of itself is immoral. To make such armaments and then to be putting that on the land. So I'm trying to sort of show that this ivermectin phenomena is what really we're seeing is what aids transposition of minerals in the body. And you see, this is what a lot of the health institutes are working on. When the body system's low in transposition of minerals, they start to build up in the body gets toxic. And you get things like black blood. There's lots of different versions in glands, in organs, where it's just built up. And so what we've been doing is working out how if the medical industries are making such a lot of money on people's, not noticing these buildups of toxins, and we can see it in the land, we have to kind of work out a template as to how to discharge those things from the body. So I think I probably lost where we were going with this bit of the topic, but so we've been trying to promote an idea of how to get the body and mind into that much more natural state. Anyway, I mean, we can come back to it, but we've got this system now that we're realizing that it's actually nothing less or nothing more than just natural living. It's not about anything machinery based. It's not about any technology. It's simply going back and relating to the natural traditions of farming, of making sure you consume from your environment, making sure your water's clean. And actually, we're realizing the people who are doing it are seeing the benefits, and they're saying, no, we can feel the blood body system is moving, it's changing. So these elements that they're trying to, they're in the environment, they're going to disappear if we follow these principles. So I'm not sure how far off the topic we got there, and perhaps we could swing it back round.
No, I want to get in. I want to say it's been a pleasure having you here, Gareth, and we're going to move on to the second hour there. We're going to take a little break here for ourselves and then go into the second hour for our Patreon or that.
Just before we do, just listening to that, it sounds like a cycle that's happening a lot, and you guys might know more than me, but like, is this something that the Book of Enoch has touched on with the way we cycle from organic into kind of AI, and it's a cycle? And have you any thoughts on that? Like,
well, in my opinion, I think that what's that book, The Fourth Turning, or that is it?
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, that breaks down the generational cycles economics wise, but I think you're in a far bigger cycle now. My opinion on the ancient societies and all that.
yeah,
I think you just get to this every so often that you get so advanced that you're talking about transhumanism and then it just falls apart.
yeah,
I don't think it falls apart for everyone. I think out of every age, there's an elite who carry on into the next stage,
yeah.
and they keep themselves well away and well hidden and all that.
Behind
But
the ice walls
they're
somewhere.
still
Yeah,
there.
That's another mad one as well.
I was going to say, it makes sense, doesn't it? The bloom on the planet, and then all of a sudden they get the technology to not have to really need the sun even. They could just live in artificial. See, this is a big part of that story. When we lost the fur, living behind the ice wall in an insulated environment, it doesn't matter if you're there at the center of the Sahara. It was as easy to live the other side of an ice wall and let society carry on its thing. So,
well, there's a lot that could be said about subterranean. Because,
subterranean,
if you go through Ireland and what they call the suit trains and all that, it's just, when you are meant to be living in an age before hydraulics and machinery, and for some reason everyone decided, something, let's all live underground for a part of the year, and you're just, what?
Yeah.
Like, that's not convenient. It's not.
There has to be a reason.
There has to be reasons for it. Yeah. Look, we'll finish on that point, and we'll head to the Patreon, and we'll get into the realms of proper conspiracy theories there for yourself. So, thanks very much.
See you all soon.